Hello everyone, weebrabbit here, and we are here with an announcement having to do with the Otaku Overload podcast. Before we get into it though, I say we because my co-host is here, 𝐦𝐨𝐬𝐿. Say hello real quick.
Hello guys.
Yeah, he's here, there we go. Brief, sweet, to the point. But yeah, we are here because if you guys noticed, we haven't had a podcast episode for like a couple weeks now. And I had posted over on the community tab a little thing that said, hey, there's going to be an update about the podcast sometime soon. And trust us, we were going to do this like a week ago, but it's part of why we're doing this announcement to begin with. Just stuff keeps coming up. Like I got really sick and I was, out of commission and all out aside, though, the reason we're doing this is because the Otaku Overlord podcast going forward is going to be a bit different. So what I mean is that if you've been listening to the last few episodes, you might have noticed that we were saying that we were like busy, stuff kept coming up. There was a lot of media that we wanted to like look at, but maybe we hadn't really looked at it.
Yeah, due to being like busy with school, I hadn't really had time to like catch up with other different stuff, like how I mentioned like 𝐥𝐢𝐤𝐤, the Evangelion movies, stuff like that. Mostly it was just kind of stuff that I already was watching, like 𝐥𝐤𝐤𝐤, stuff like that, And so, we were just trying to see how we can change this up,
And it's just one of those things where the podcast has started to become a bit of a chore and a bit of a hassle because I felt like, okay, we have to find stuff to talk about because if not, it's going to be very boring to not have stuff to talk about. And honestly, some of the news too, like I liked it in the sense that like, ooh, it's fun to talk about like updates and like stuff to look forward to, but sometimes it would be really short and it would be kind of like,
and there wasn't any news too.
Yeah, sometimes it wasn't really news or wasn't really much to talk about. It's just like, oh, this thing that we had mentioned that got like announced, it has a release date now.
Yeah.
And it's like that, the point is a lot of stuff feels like it was starting to feel like a chore. And originally the whole point of the podcast is that we wanted to introduce, I guess it's two things. On the channel, I wanted to do two things. I wanted to like introduce and talk about different, anime, different series, stuff like that. So people know about it, check it out, talk about our feelings about it, that sort of thing. And another thing I wanted to do is that before I had done videos where I kind of like commented and reacted to, Nintendo Directs and different showcases for different video game companies, stuff like that. And I kind of thought, well, maybe a podcast would be a good idea to kind of roll that into one. But I just feel like, I don't know, it's not really balanced. I feel like it's not really working too well. So getting into what we want to do in the future, in future of the podcast, instead of doing it once a week, the way we had been doing it, or trying to, hit it upon it every week, what we want to do is that going forward, we kind of want to separate the two ideas I kind of talked about, the news segment and the talking about some sort of like a topic of the week, some sort of an anime series. So what we want to do is that going forward, we're thinking that the podcast might be maybe like once a month, and we'll use it to talk about a specific series, or like what I like to do where I talk about, anime, winter 2024 season, stuff like that, right? We're thinking that going forward, we're probably going to do that maybe like once a month, or maybe, every so often when we feel like there's something like kind of big to cover in detail. And, for instance, the next podcast we're going to do, not too sure when it's going to happen yet, but we already know it's going to be the next one. Maybe according to like the old format, because going forward we might like change some stuff up on like the format, the graphics, that sort of thing. For instance, we want to do like, okay, that last anime season that passed, it's still kind of, on the tail end of ending. I mentioned a lot of anime that I had watched, right? And I never really followed up on them. So that will probably be like the last episode of this like old format. Okay, anime, last season, all the anime I had mentioned, talk about them, what I thought about them, what I would review them, how many episodes, where to find them, that sort of thing. And going forward, it might be something similar to that, for instance. But like I said, with like new graphics, new time, new format, right? And then, for instance, the way that last time 𝐦𝐨𝐿 covered all of Drawing the Franxx and his thoughts on it and his reaction to it. And I was kind of, also discussing, like, here's what I think is like important and like the meaning of it, and kind of talking about how it changed and the downfall and our opinions on it and stuff they could have done better. We might do like an episode on an anime like that, for instance. Like, for instance, he said he wanted to watch the 𝐥𝐢𝐤𝐤 series. I would love to do like a whole episode just dedicated to 𝐥𝐤𝐤. Okay, what do you know about it? Going in, watching it. Obviously, maybe not episode by episode, because it is, I think that a lot of time. Yeah, if you, as you know, it's from like the Drawing the Franxx thing. But maybe like, okay, episode like 1 through 4. What did you think? And then episode 4 through like 8, like in chunks, little thoughts on it, stuff that's important. And then basically at the end, just like a big old summary of like, here's what I thought. Did I enjoy it? Did I not enjoy it? Do I recommend it? Thoughts on it? Stuff like that. I think that would be like really interesting to do.
That would be pretty good, yeah.
Yeah, and then for instance, like since he needs to watch the Evangelion movies and I need to watch them, the rebuild ones, it'd be interesting to, okay, let's maybe watch all, 3, 4 movies or whatever?
Yeah, 4.
And then, cut it up. Okay, here's like the first one. Maybe spend like 15 minutes on that one. And then the second one, another 15 minutes. The third one, the fourth one, maybe 15 minutes to each, right? That would be like an hour. And then maybe like another 15 minutes at the end, just like an overall analysis. That way it would be about as long as what we've been doing, but it would be dedicated to one topic, which I think would be a little better. So that's the idea for the podcast. We will be dividing it up by, like a whole series or like a whole series of movies or like an anime season. And, like I said, we might be doing that like maybe like once a month. I think that would be pretty fun, right?
That would be pretty cool.
Then when it comes to news, we still want to do news, but we're thinking of doing it like different as well. Like when it comes to like the Nintendo Directs or like a Pokemon Presents, that sort of thing. I had done in the past where I had done like a reaction commentary sort of thing. And we're thinking that maybe we can like get together to record those.
Yeah, that would be
so
cool.
Yeah, next time whenever that is, if there's like a Nintendo Direct, okay, get together, watch it, and have like the reaction to it as it's playing, right? I think that would be really interesting. I think it would be a little more fresh, it would be a little more timely, there would be more to talk about versus, oh, here's like a part of the podcast where we're trying to cover it and just, I think it would be a little better that way. And I noticed that when I used to do those, I think they were pretty well received. And I kind of miss doing those, honestly. Like, I thought that the podcast could cover it, but it doesn't feel like enough, honestly. I kind of like that other format, honestly.
And then it would be cool to, like, not just be you, but, like, someone else, because that makes it more enjoyable than, like, I don't know, like, let's say, like, there's a moment where it's like, oh my god, this is, like, funny, and we can both laugh about it.
Yeah, or there's, like, something really cool, or, yeah, exactly. So I think that would really work to have, like, another person. So that's what we're thinking. We're thinking that when it comes to like a Nintendo Direct or like a partner showcase or something, we might just cover it together. That would be really cool, and do like the reaction and commentary and then upload that, So we still want to do, some sort of gaming news. We could probably cover it that way. We still want to do, anime coverage as well. We'll probably do like a, do that in the podcast format, like once a month. And like I said, we don't really know when the next episode of the podcast is going to come. I know it will be soon because the anime season is coming to a close, right? A lot of those anime that I had covered before, they're in their last episodes. But I do need to still catch up. We need to sit down, record it, that sort of thing. But we will say that whenever that comes out, that'll be like the format for the... that'll be like the last episode of that old format. And then going forward, it'll be like a newer format. Different graphics on screen, that sort of thing, I guess. Yeah. But there you have it, guys. That is what you can expect. There's some changes coming to the channel, coming to the podcast, and how we do some things, how we cover some things. But, hopefully it'll help us to not feel like so swamped, to feel so much like, some of this is a chore, right? It brings some like more energy to it, yeah. And hopefully people who are watching it will enjoy it, so we'll see how it goes. But there you go. That is our update. And we really appreciate everyone who supported us. Hopefully you guys can continue to support us. We'll continue to keep trying to do things better. That way, you guys enjoy it. And that's going to be it for us. So we'll see you in the future with new content. Until then, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.